Recording.
Recording.
Well. All right. Getting ready. Jumping back in. Everybody.
Hi, Mike. Making art.
Hi, Mike, everybody.
Making blip blop boopy doop.
making
Once
art.
the radio signs going to Star Field 2.
This is Big Daddy-O calling on the internet radio. Sorry, I hit record. I'm like, did I get any of it? No, I did. Okay.
Oh, I missed all that gold. Now what am I going to sell on that precious metal site? Not this art.
What are you doing? I'm on hot mic.
Which one is it?
I'm making art.
I'm holding this for
It's the boy.
Is it Richard? You know, he was my favorite.
Yeah.
I've been holding this since the first episode, okay? I've been trying to be conservative. Mom told me to go to bed.
He sounded kind of sassy there.
I know, right? Oh, now there's dogs and more children.
It's like they don't care.
It's a good thing I didn't. Good thing I've just hit the button. All this is going online. All of it. Every single bit of it.
It's like, look, Dad's trying to make funny with his buddy again. Let's ruin it.
Oh, look, Daddy's trying to make funnies. Too bad he fails every time. Ha 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 ha.
It's not hard, Dad.
Funny.
Look at me. I hit record. Recording. I've been podcasting for 7 years.
Take joke for a joke.
See, it's not that hard, old man. Your kids are mean.
I know.
This is why I cry. Are they pooping?
Better not be pooping because that takes too long. Are you pooping?
You know, your one kid is on an episode.
He's making onesies.
He's a nervous peer.
Well, your office connects to 2 of the main bathrooms.
Oh, too bad. That's on the internet now.
I don't care.
Pre-roll. That's what we call in the biz a cold opening.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. And today, Shawn, this is planned funny. This isn't improv funny. This is planned funny. Well, not necessarily funny, but this is planned cool. They're all planned cool.
Oh, Richard. So, like I've said before, I'm not on the street. What do people like? So, like, people want to know, Shawn, what's it like when you go into those boardrooms with all those producers around? You got to pitch those movies.
Yeah.
I'll let you know a little secret. This is exactly what it's like, except instead of being around producers, I'm at a bar. There's a lot of drunk people, and they can't really hear me very well. I'm like, if you think this is funny, you should listen to my podcast. And there's like, what's a Bobcast? And then I just go home by myself.
Like, what's your name? Are you John Q Netflix?
Hey, listen, I'll tell you a story about a man named Jed. BW
Netflix, BW Amazon Prime Smith. Is that your name?
Yeah, is that your name? Do you want to buy my intellectual property that's not actually mine that I'm trying to tweak to make mine? No? Okay, well.
Stephen K. HBO Max.
Drinks are on HBO Max. I'll take a Shirley Temple. No, Richard, what we are doing today, these are fun. So they always really inspire me, to want to get back to writing. I'm almost done with my campaign. I'm doing this big campaign for Starfinder.
Yeah.
I'm almost done, Richard. So you know what I'm going to have a ton of time to do? Clicky-clack on my keyboard at the coffee shop and put out some scripts.
I love it. I love it.
And then I'll read those scripts on a podcast episode. And those are the ones everybody's like, sweet, I can skip this week. But Richard, what we are going to do today...
Wendy and Aaron are like, do we have to put this in every month? Like, or can we do like a per episode?
Yeah,
we can skip these, right?
Yeah, I think this is a skippable one. I want to. Yeah, let me.
Why is this in a reward tier?
But Richard, what we are going to find those TV shows and we want to turn those into movies.
I love it.
So what these are, this is our LOB movie pitch. This is like us being in the producer's room. We're going to get an idea. We're going to pitch it, come up with some cool ideas. We'll workshop it together. You're going to see these baby ideas develop into, toddlers, into big kids, into teenagers, and into full-fledged movies. That's what we're going to do here today, Richard.
I love it.
I've got a handful on my list, so I kind of want to give you a starting point first and see what you have for a TV show that you want to turn into a movie.
Okay.
So give me your LOB movie pitch.
There's an obvious choice, but I'm going to go with a not so obvious choice. And the reason why is because I think that this is a show that has already aired and gone. It's gone, Shawn. It's not on anymore. The only place you can find it is on DVD or on the internet. So I'm going to go with a not an obvious choice. And the reason being is because I feel like this story still had a lot more to go. Shawn, I want to see an Angel movie.
Oh, yeah, I could be down for that.
Because the way that show ended, okay, so if anybody that doesn't know, Angel, the show ended, and then there was a comic series that went on after that. And the comic series went into what happens after the last episode of the television show. So, big resource to draw on, obviously. I think that I guess right now I'm kind of torn is do I stick with the plot outlined in the comic books, or do I try and come up with something wholly original to do after the comics, or apart from the comics?
Yeah, because the comic specific part, basically like Hell and LA like merge. And so, spoilers, but at the end of the season, you see this big dragon coming through.
Yeah.
And it ends up like Angel befriends the dragon and like rides it.
Yeah.
Like tames the dragon.
Yeah.
So I always felt like that was kind of a big, big tease. Like, it's like, oh my God, there's going to be this huge battle. And it didn't really seem like it came to fruition.
Yeah. You didn't really see anything of the battle. You just kind of, it kind of like, it's kind of like this hazy part that somebody describes, like when somebody's like, step 1, Los Angeles gets sucked into hell. Step 2, step 3, Angel tames a dragon.
Yeah, exactly. There's you're missing something. What's going on there?
What happened at step 2? But so here's some other spoilers for you. Wesley died and is a ghost.
Yeah.
And he haunts the law offices that Angel like kind of camps out in. That's like his home base. One of the guys that I can't remember his name right now becomes a vampire. Gunn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could go for just a Gunn movie in general.
Becomes a vampire.
Really
but he's not like a nice vampire. He's an evil, bad vampire.
Yeah, because in the vampire Buffyverse, if you become a vampire, you lose your soul. There's only 2 vampires that have their souls.
Yeah.
One was cursed with it. One actually went out to earn his soul.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good story.
That's a good
so
story.
yeah, so what do you think? Should I just go with the comic story, or should I try and like do some sort of, I don't know, like afterward?
I feel like you almost leave the comic as is and you try to develop the last story of Angel.
See, that's the problem I have when it comes to doing the comic story is it's such a, obviously, like, it goes over like multi issues. I'm trying to condense that story into 2 hours. How do I do that?
Yeah. And that's something that like you don't, like the Angel comic goes for so long, and you wouldn't want to make this like a trilogy. Like this is something, it's been gone for a while. You almost want like a Serenity type thing, kind of going with the Joss Whedon verse, where it just ends. Like it's done and over. It's a one-shot movie. You finish the story. You know, and maybe you leave things like gun or some of that stuff out there, but for the most part, the story's done. That's kind of how I think you would do it. So you could start with Hell and LA merging, and you find what is the big bad out of that. Like, you know, they talked about Wolfram and Hart kind of being the main linchpin, but you know, do you bring in a big? I don't mean this as a play on words, but do you bring in the big gun? Like, do you have him fight like a Satan or some overarching demon, and not like a cartoony Satan, like just, you know, some kind of incarnation of that he has to battle to the end?
I kind of like the idea of a personification of evil, but it's like infested Gun, because Gun obviously died.
As Vampire Gun?
Not necessarily Vampire Gun, but like, you know, Gun's body, for lack of a better word, with big evil, big bad personification inside of it.
Do you mean Gun or Wesley?
I mean Gun. I actually like the idea of Wesley being like helpful, you know, Casper the helpful ghost.
You know what he is at that point? He's like a real life watcher.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like he does much. I feel like he would do I like the idea of him being like, you know, this Force ghost Obi-Wan kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that. Where he can't, like, you could see the pain and anguish on that, because like he can't actually do anything.
Exactly.
And if you're making this kind of epic one-shot movie, like you're seeing him watch people actually die and then move on, like he's like the first person close to him dies, like he's like, oh, well, I guess maybe they'll be here as a ghost, but they don't, because they move on. Yeah. Which he can't do. So, like, it's a story of like, what's Angel's end game? What's Wesley's end game? It's like, I would almost end it on a sad note too, because I always feel like like that movie, and like you think about some of these supernatural type shows, like Supernatural, for example. It's always like, oh, well, this person, like the you know, Angel and Wesley, or you know, the Winchesters, like they're a big part of this overall story. Like they're a big cog in this wheel. Yeah. Or I guess they're more of the axis of this story. And you almost make it to where at the end of this, you learn that they were just just a footnote in the history of this battle between good and evil. Right.
Like, I kind of like the idea. I think if I did it as a movie, I would need it at the end. I would need the end to end.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I don't want it to be like this. Oh, well, maybe we could do another movie, or maybe we could do a television show. Like I want it to end. Like honestly, I would probably have him die at the end.
You have to. And I mean, because like you look at David Boreanaz, like he
one
still
of those
looks
is kind of right.
Yeah, it's close. But like you look at him in that SEALs show, I don't watch it much. My folks watch it, so I've seen him on that a couple times shirtless, and he looks good still. I mean, he still looks decent. But if you try to say, oh, well, we're going to have Angel movie 1, and then 3 years from now, Angel movie 2, and then 4 years now, Angel Eve movie 3, he's going to start showing his age.
Yeah. And it's already been quite a long minute.
Was it 2002, 2003 when that ended?
No, I think it was later. I want to say it was like 05.
It might be. I feel like it was before I went to college.
05 sounds right to me.
2004.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, so right when I graduated college or high school.
So I would in mine he would probably die at the end. In fact, not probably. That would definitely happen.
So do you have him dying in like an overarching way that saves the world, or do you go more on like to me, for some reason I want like a super sad ending where he dies some random way? And like whatever he was trying to stop, like maybe it gets stopped, but it really, like, you still see that all the stuff that he has to fight, somebody else has to take that mantle up. So that, like, basically the battle continues on even when he's gone.
Mean, I kind of like what you're saying. Like you're kind of referring to like the end of Supernatural, where like
a little bit
there's like a big bombastic ending, but then there's a more personal ending, I guess. Yeah. For lack of a better, I do like the idea of the whole like even though he did a big thing, like I'm just a cog on the wheel. I like that premise. However, I don't like. I'm not a fan of the like. Oh my god, I slipped on a banana peel, and that's how it. Whoops!
Fell on a spike and turned into sand.
Like I'm not into that. I think I would prefer the death to be a bit more bombastic. Maybe, obviously maybe not like this big giant deal, but maybe a little bit of a deal.
Yeah. Do you have I just don't want him to go out like in a sacrifice. I feel like that's overplayed in that series.
Yes. I totally agree.
Do you maybe something with, I don't know. Yeah. Cause anything like with, like, do you bring Buffy into it somehow?
No, I personally would not.
I'd be down for like
What's that?
I don't know if you've ever seen any of the like old Carl Grimes pictures. Like they had pictures of like Carl from Walking Dead, like old, missing his eye, cowboy hat, weathered, like just looking like the shit's been beat out of him. I would love to see Buffy show up like that. Like almost in like the episode.
Like an old man Logan kind of thing?
Yeah. Like she's seen some stuff. She's been through some things. And, maybe like her showing up, maybe their deaths are tied together somehow.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe she's just like the Easter egg. She shows up at his grave, but just like that would be
that would be all right.
Because that's like I wouldn't want it to be too overhanded, but like that'd be kind of a cool post-credit scene where you see her show up and like, well, I didn't know I wanted a Buffy post-TV series movie, but now I do. Because she's like Sarah Michelle Gellar could play Buffy right now at the age of 40-something, I think she is.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like I don't know if I'd want her all like grizzled with an eye patch, but I get where you're going, and I'm kind of into it.
Yeah. Carrying a sword, carrying that axe.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Bigger question, how much of a Joss Whedon are you getting involved?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he was kind of involved with, I would say, like, towards the end of the show, he wasn't really involved that as much, if at all.
Yeah, he was kind of doing Firefly at that point.
He had Firefly and I think Dollhouse at that point.
Dollhouse was a few years later.
Oh, was it?
Because that was 2008, I'm pretty sure. But no, I'd get behind an Angel movie. Like I said, I think it'd be a good one-shot. Kind of seeing the end of Angel with no resurrection.
Because, I mean, you look at, what's that show that he was working on, that he was working on that he finished for HBO? The Nevers, which I actually watched, pretty decent.
Joss Whedon or?
Joss Whedon's the executive producer on it. However, like when you go to look at like like a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff or whatever, the person that's really visible in front of the camera is that one person that was in his writer's room that worked on a bunch of episodes. I think it was like Marty Noxon.
Well, there was a husband and wife that were a big part of it too.
I want to say it's Marty Noxon, but she was like in the writer's room for Buffy and Angel. And then once those ended, I think she went and did Game of Thrones for a while. Like she wrote quite a few episodes of Game of Thrones. But it seems like she's really been kind of put to the forefront when it comes to like promoting this newer show, The Nevers. I mean, I'd say like I'd want like put her in charge, let her write a script.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
So if you're asking how much do I involve Joss, I don't really know if I need to.
Yeah, I was just kind of making the joke in terms of like he's not really held in very high regard at the moment.
Whatever do you mean?
There's some stuff, Richard.
There's a few things, so I've heard.
Yeah, we did a Joss Whedon draft, Richard. I'm pretty sure we almost got canceled for it. We didn't know.
Not my fault. I'm not in Hollywood, obviously. So that's one idea I have. What I'd love to hear something you got.
Well, you talking about Angel really kind of sparked this one. It wasn't on my list originally, but I'd really like to explore this. So they are coming back out with the final season of this, and it had a good run. The ending, a lot of people weren't too happy with, but the storyline itself always intrigued me. And I think if we got to see a movie, and I think I already got the title. We could call it Death of Dexter.
Okay.
Dexter's Laboratory. So his sister finally gets on his nerves. He creates some kind of
what?
No, I'm not talking about Dexter's Laboratory. I'm talking about the actual Dexter, serial killer Dexter.
I didn't know it.
So, one of the endings to the original movie, which I think I'm going to steal for this because I think it would just be a total mind fuck. So you kind of follow Dexter through this like final, like his one last kill. Like, he discovers that, there was somebody else involved, maybe in his mother's death or, maybe the Trinity killer had somebody else tied to him. And so he's got to get that one last, basically going to eliminate all of his urges by doing this one final kill.
Okay, wait, question. I don't know how much this is going to, how much flack I'm going to get for this. I have never watched an episode of Dexter. Would I be able to pick up this movie and follow right along? I understand I've understood the premise of the show, but I've never actually seen the show. So I guess I'm asking, like, could I pick up this movie and knowing what the general idea of the show is, but not necessarily knowing specific characters, would I be able to pick up and follow along?
Yeah, I think you'd probably trickle in some of the so to make it so that you could watch it without seeing it. And this is going to be a little bit spoiler if nobody's seen the TV series, so kind of skip ahead a little bit, I guess. But
I can't skip ahead. I'm right here.
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 10 years old.
The show's 10 years old. The statute of limitations is lost on me.
So I would tie it to like one of my favorite seasons, and it was John Lithgow was in the season.
Okay.
And he played a serial killer called the Trinity Killer.
Okay.
So essentially it was a guy who killed in threes.
Oh.
And like every 5, I don't remember if it was every 3 years he did it or it was every X number of years he killed 3 people. And him and Dexter kind of had like this weird like father-son serial killer bond.
Okay.
Like Dexter, like the whole season, Dexter knows he's the Trinity killer, but he's trying to learn from him. But he doesn't really know that the Trinity killer knows that he's a serial killer. So it's like one knows the other one does, but the other one doesn't know the other knows. So it's kind of I know that you know that I know, except Dexter didn't know. So one of the most mind-blowing endings I've ever seen because, this whole thing plays out. Dexter finds like, you know what? This is a bad dude and does his thing, takes him out. And in that episode, the Trinity killer is kind of like laughing a little bit. And, Dexter's kind of like, well, this is kind of weird, but like, I'm putting an end to this. And like, like Trinity killer's crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm kind of doing this for good. Kills him. And the Trinity killer's whole storyline is like he would find a young woman, kill her in a bathtub. Like some people are like, well, is it suicide? Was it murder? It was just kind of a whole ordeal.
Uh-huh.
And before he captured the Trinity killer, he had his wife and kid. He said they were going to meet down in like southern Florida or somewhere for vacation so he could do all this. Takes care of Trinity killer, comes home, doors open, or not doors not open, it's shut, but like the house is like still kind of like messy and he thought the wife was going to clean it up. He walks in, like lights aren't working, hits the answer machine. And he's hearing his wife talk about, hey, she's excited for the trip, yada, yada, yada. And then she says, hey, by the way, I'm going to come back home real quick because I got to get some stuff. And then because you said to come home for something. He's like, wait, I didn't call you. And when he walks into the bathroom, the Trinity killer had killed his wife before he got a hold of him.
Oh.
So it's this whole like he was trying to catch the Trinity killer, which gave the Trinity killer the opportunity to kill his wife. So I would play off that to where, maybe the Trinity killer had a family, maybe the Trinity killer's son was kind of involved somehow. And so, Dexter's kind of learned this. And so you would sprinkle like some of that information in. So if you never seen it, you could get caught up pretty quick and see what's going.
Yeah.
But what I would do, I think I just like the idea. So the Trinity killer's son was basically like a killer in training.
Okay.
Kind of taking up his father's mantle. So this whole movie is about Dexter trying to catch him. And so, the whole Dexter thing is he captures the guy, has him in this tape, is about to stab him. You see him stab him. The blood goes everywhere. Dexter has this relief. And then all of a sudden it does kind of like the shot. So this is the ending of it. So you see the shot where the kid's eyes open up and you see him kind of smile. And all of a sudden you kind of do this phase out, phase through Dexter's eyes.
Okay.
And you see him in the lethal injection chair looking out into the crowd of people watching. And in the crowd is the Trinity Killer's son. And you get a quick flashback. So before he actually killed the kid, the cop showed up. And so the Trinity Killer's son essentially set this whole thing up so that Dexter could get caught, get pinned with all these murders, and go on lethal injection and basically get, capital punishment.
Okay.
That's the end.
I am actually okay. I'm actually kind of into the idea of what if he's trying to kill this kid or whatever, and then it turns out that he actually isn't a killer, and the whole time Dexter's just working off his own rage and he's on a revenge kick, and so then he questions his entire am I really doing this because I'm being noble, or am I being noble, or is this just a sick fixation?
Am I just a sick serial killer? Because there is a because his whole thing is he works forensics, so he tries to get proof that these people are bad,
right?
And in the later seasons, he kind of gets sloppy with it.
Yeah.
And so he starts, he actually does end up killing a guy that he's like, oh my God, you've raped and killed people. And the guy's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, what the fuck? And he kills him. And the next day they find proof that it was somebody else.
Yeah.
And so he basically murdered an innocent person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that idea is and then the ending, you could still play on the same ending. And so then the whole question is at the end is is the Trinity Killer smiling? The Trinity Killer kid smiling because he was evil, or he's a serial killer, or is it his version of revenge against the guy who killed his father?
Yeah, yeah.
You could play on multiple things, and you would just never know. It's up to interpretation. But I always with movies, and I think this would be a good one because it plays a little bit, because he talks to his dead dad in this, which is his. I can't remember what he calls it. He calls it something specific, but that's the person that kind of guides him through this whole journey, because his stepdad was the one that kind of helped him control the urges that he had.
Gotcha.
And so you play on that whole he thinks he kills him, and then you start questions well, did he kill a lot of these people? How many of these murders that he do were actually real?
Yeah.
And as he's going through this lethal injection, then the stuff starts getting in his head, and he maybe he envisions himself killing his wife and him doing this other thing, and it just
he's getting all Fight Club with it.
Yeah, exactly. He's
okay.
and it just ends because it's well, was it the medicine? Did this stuff actually happen? Was any of it real that we saw?
I like it.
And it just ends.
It just
the
ends.
Death of Dexter. The original ending for, I don't remember what season, was kind of like that, where you would see through his eyes, and in the waiting room would be all the people that he murdered.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't be bloody or anything, but he would just look out, and people that you saw that he murdered would just be in the audience watching.
Nice.
And so the whole question is well, did he actually murder some of these people? Are they ghosts? What's the deal? But yeah, lots of cool stuff, I think, but that's kind of what I would see for that.
I like it. Also,
So
I said, I've never watched the show. But I would watch that movie. Just knowing the little bit that I know about the show. All right, Shawn. I think this next show, I think you've seen them all, and it ended very abruptly, and it really aggravated me that it did, because I felt like this show, I feel like this show was so ahead of its time that it got canceled when it could have gone so much deeper. It could have gone so much farther. And I think the only problem is that people weren't ready. I feel like people weren't ready for the kind of storytelling that this show was doing, because we're talking like 2003 to 2005. Okay.
Okay.
So I know, like when I was talking about Angel, I'm like, I want this movie to end. Like, I want the movie to end, and then that's it. With this one, I actually would want to do a movie that would hopefully spark interest in bringing back a series.
Okay.
Like I said, I think you've seen it, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it, because as soon as I say it, you're going to be like, yes. Ready? Carnival.
I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen 2/3 of the first season.
Okay, so if anybody's curious, I did just look it up. It is on HBO Max.
Oh, I need to watch it then. I got that back when Netflix had DVDs. I got through 2/3 of it with DVDs.
I watched it week to week because I think for some reason, I think I had like a free trial at HBO or something like that. Yes, this is a show that it had a very big cast. Like, there were a lot of moving parts to the show, and everybody kind of had their own character arcs and story arcs. Like, you got to remember, like, this is a show that came out in the time of like The Sopranos. The Sopranos was on HBO. This is I think it's either before or right around Breaking Bad. So for people that don't know what the show was, it's going to be really hard to explain this in a very conjuncted version. But it was set in the Dust Bowl Depression era. And there is a kid who, for some reason, has a weird power where he is able to heal people. However, he's able to basically, like, I guess the best way to do it, to explain it, is he's able to like transfer life force. So he can like if somebody's hurt, he can heal their leg, but like if they're standing in, like, I think at one point he's standing in a lake and he does it and all the fish in the lake are dead. Like, he's able to heal somebody's broken leg and then all the fish in the lake are dead. Or a bunch of birds fall out of the sky, like shit like that. So he ends up joining, through, circumstance and happenstance, he ends up joining a traveling carnival that, for one reason or another, they actually know that he has powers, and they're kind of been looking for him. And the carnival has something to do with a very mysterious preacher who is played by the best villain of all time, Clancy Brown, who, if people don't know, was the Kurgan in Highlander. The best villain ever. He plays a preacher who is actually evil. And like, he's able to like his eyes go black, and he like, there is, like I said, there's a bunch of moving parts to the show. There's a bunch of different character arcs. My movie would basically be a setting up of hopefully rebooting the show, because, like I said, this show was only around from 2003 to 2005.
Yeah, and like you said, like there was plans, I guess, for like 3 or 4 seasons, but for some reason it just kind of ended after the second season.
Yeah, it just got canceled. There is a I can't remember if it's an article or if it was just like a transcript of an interview that somebody did with the showrunner, where he kind of went into what the next season or 2 would be, like what the overarching story was going to be. But because honestly, the way the show ended with like every intention of there being more.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my movie, I think it would probably delve deeper into the lore of why these two people have powers and what does that mean. And, like, what does the carnival have to do with it? Why does they just call whoever runs the carnival, they just call them management? And it's like this weird voice behind a curtain. Some of this stuff gets explained, and some of it is obviously, left open. So I think it would be more like exploring exploring that kind of lore. Then you find out another person has powers, and so
would your movie be kind of exploring where the powers came from?
I think my movie would explain more of where the powers came from, and then basically kind of help set up everybody's motivation for what they want to do.
Do you think that that's a tall tale? I mean, whenever you start, like, a lot of these shows left, like Lost and things like that, where the power is pretty ambiguous where it's coming from or what it is.
Yeah.
When they start explaining it, it kind of loses why that is. Like, for this one, I could see, like, you know, with good and evil, it's always like there's a counterbalance, right? Like, for as much evil, there has to be as much good.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the way the show was going. But then it was also setting up for like there were like almost like visions of the future that dealt with like industrialization and the next world war and the development of the nuclear bomb. And
oh my God, could you imagine like timepieces for each of those? Like, to me, your movie could almost show like the Dust Bowl and the Depression was kind of like evil overtaking the world. Like, it was getting more of its pie than the good. Because like maybe maybe somehow evil killed good, like whatever the incarnation of good was, and this kid that was born was the new incarnation of good. But because he was so young, it took him time to really get up to speed, like up to like the level of what the evil was. So that's what spawned like World War I, World War II, and then good started kind of getting more and more up there. So that's kind of like you're looking future TV shows and stuff.
Well, basically, I mean, like the premise, it kind of seemed like this, like there was somebody that was, supposed to be on one. Basically, it was like these two people embodied a force, embodied aspects of a force that were constantly meant to battle each other. Like that was like it's almost like their purpose was to meet, battle, and somebody wins.
Yeah, but that was like where evil was trying to find the kid and kill him, right? That was kind of the whole idea.
But see, the thing is like it almost got to a point that you weren't sure who was the good guy and who was the bad guy.
Yeah. So, what's interesting about that, if you play on that, maybe that's the exposures. The kid actually is evil. So even though that the preacher guy is what we see as evil because the stuff he's doing is not good, but the kid spawns these, like the Dust Bowl, spawns the Depression, spawns World War I, which I guess World War I would have been pre all that stuff. But World War II is that, and maybe somehow he defeats the kid, and that leads into just a tiny bit of, calm and good, and then something reincarnates as the evil. I almost get like Highlander feels from this, but
kind of, yeah, very much so.
You're kind of like passing back and forth, like the essence of evil.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. That would be a tough movie because I feel like you almost expose everything that you kind of want to, like, you're pretty much putting it all on the table. And then your next movie is really building off of that idea. Like, you're setting what your lore is. And then,
see, you and I, we're talking about these two people, but like the way at the end of the show, there was a X factor that got introduced that kind of like turned everything on its head. And so I feel like if there's a continuation of like the movie could be about the resolution of these two characters, and then the continuation of like the series or whatever would be, kind of what happened about this thing? What about this thing that happened at the very end?
That'd be interesting. So like maybe the preacher's hunting down all the quote evil.
But then was the preacher who was really evil?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to figure that out. Is the kid evil or is the preacher evil? Or are they both evil and the other essence is the good? Or is something else good? Is Angel good? Do you bring Angel into this and he's good?
I think they end up in California by the end of the show. Like they start in the Dust Bowl. I think they get to California.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that, especially
You
since it's on
definitely
HBO
do.
Max.
You definitely do, because it's a very hard series to explain, but I think I think anybody that watches it, I think you can definitely be like, why did they end? You would definitely go, why did they end the show? And I honestly feel like the reason is I think it was just too early. It was way too early.
Well, yeah, people weren't ready for that. Like Game of Thrones hadn't been out yet. Like
Exactly.
Supernatural hadn't even started yet. Like people just weren't on board for that kind of stuff, especially on HBO. Like
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
feel
as
like-
big as it is now.
Well, I just think that storytelling, this kind of storytelling, I think people, it was way too early. So yeah,
Agreed.
So that would be mine. I think that's the only other one I had, because those are the only two that I had was Angel and Carnival.
Well, I'll go with. I've got two left.
Okay, give me your two, because I want to hear them both.
I'll start with this first one because it was 2 seasons. The first season I thought was really good. I'm pretty sure it got canceled, and they brought it back for a second short season.
Okay,
and then it got canceled, and so then they started a comic book series. And I haven't read much of the comic book series yet, but I always kind of like this idea of like communities kind of having to come together because of a bigger global event. So there's something bigger than a community, but the community is just trying to survive on its own.
okay,
I.e., like, Walking Dead. Why do I like The Walking Dead so much? Well, there's this huge zombie apocalypse, but as a group of people, you're not really so much worried about like how to fix the zombie apocalypse. You're just trying to figure out how to survive day to day.
yeah,
Right? Like,
Yeah.
If you and I get stuck somewhere and the zombie apocalypse break out, you and I aren't like, well, how do we fix this zombie apocalypse? You and I are like, how do we keep podcasting?
How do we eat? Let's get food and microphones.
Hey, Shawn, have you ever thought about being with another man? I'm like, no. You're like, oh. Oh God, you got bit. Bang. But it was a TV show. I just got to get to it before he turns. It was a TV show called Jericho. Do you remember this show at all?
I recall the name. I recall the name of it, and I think that's about as far. It was a town, right?
Yeah, so it was a town in Kansas, and the whole idea behind this is like multiple nuclear bombs go off in the United States.
Okay.
They don't really explain why until the second season, where they kind of try to tidy it up to how it happened. But like you have this whole event happen where these nuclear bombs go off, and all these towns kind of like suck into themselves because it's like, okay, well, because Kansas, the whole idea is I think one goes off in Denver. So in this made up town, Jericho, Kansas, they can see it from there. They can see the mushroom cloud and everything.
Yeah.
And so now you're basically this town. It's trying to get together. It's trying to figure out like what they're going to do. And then, they're so focused on themselves. There's a neighboring town that doesn't have some of the things they do. And so this town gets pissed because it's like, well, you're letting us suffer over here without helping. And the other town just kind of like, well, we're trying to figure our shit out. We didn't even think about you guys.
Right.
But you kind of have this whole different like interaction of almost, I really thought the Walking Dead comic did a good job of this. The TV show didn't do such a good job with this, but almost having like these mini countries and dealing with like country politics on a smaller scale.
Okay.
So like the big thing with the TV show was that, this one
like it's almost
town,
like micronations.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, great example. Micronations. So like this one town, they controlled the salt mine, which, salt is very important to survival of people. But they wouldn't let the other town have it because they were concerned about a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. And they end up basically having like a mini war between them.
Oh.
So I don't know where I'd pick up if I'd almost want to reboot the whole thing, because I feel like this would be good for just a reboot. You start from scratch.
Okay,
set
so
it in
yeah,
modern
you'd
times.
use the movie to reboot. So the question is would it? I feel like this has kind of been the premise, but like, is this a movie that you would want to end the story, or is this a movie you would want to continue the story?
I probably end it, because if you extend this to like 3-4 movies or a TV show, I feel like you get into the Hunger Games type of thing, where like movie 1 and 2 are good, number 3 is like and then you get 4 and you're like, this is a fucking waste of time.
So it's kind of like a start. Like this is the Fallout universe at the beginning of the Fallout universe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
You know, and like when this came out in like 05 or 06, you know, you think about like right now, like we're so prevalent on social media, computers. There's not really, like, to me, I don't feel like there's a big sense of community at all. Like you could, you know, we talked about Romero's zombie movies a little bit, and like how they kind of make social commentary on stuff. Yeah. I feel like this would be a great way to kind of do that, because you could kind of, and I'm not going to try to walk through it right now because that is a big topic to try to cover in a 10-minute like pitch, right? Like I'm not going to try to get into race relations or, you know, social media right. or commerce or any of that stuff right now.
Yeah,
but
totally.
There's definitely things you can talk about with in this a little bit. And I'd really want, I know a lot of people probably hate this kind of stuff, but I want it to be some kind of like a pro message, you know, for people and groups. Like you definitely would show like, okay, well, I wouldn't want a cartoon like the bad guy. Like, you know, I don't think they did this too much in it, but like, you know, I wouldn't want to have like, oh, well, here's the super racist dude. You know, he's, you know, because it's just like, I feel like that overplays it. But like, yeah, you definitely find that person who maybe is a little prejudiced about something. But when this whole thing comes out, it's like, you know, comes to realization how stupid their thoughts are. Yeah. You know, not overhanded, which is very difficult to do, I think.
No, I get you.
But you could play on a bunch of different those things, try to play a little bit of social commentary on, you know, just the things going on right now. And like, could you imagine like right now, if all of a sudden you don't have the internet, you don't have all these things, and you're in kind of like small town USA, and you're trying to figure out
anymore.
Yeah. And you're like, well, what happened? You know, and
well,
like
how big of a here?
Like, how big of a thing would it be if like you just like woke up and you're stretching, drinking your coffee, and you look out and there's a mushroom cloud.
Oh my God.
And you hold your thumb up like the dude from Fallout, and you're like, oh, okay, I covered up, so I'm not going to be in the fallout. Because you know that's why he does it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know you're safe, but now you know like your next like X number of days is going to be fucked, right? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. See that. Yeah. That's kind of the thing. It's like, okay, well, what happens now? Like, what do I do first?
Yeah. Do you end up saying, hey, kids, we're all going to the woods. We're getting out of the city. We're going to get as far away from people as we can. Or if you're in a small community, do you try to band together?
Or are you like, we need to figure out how to get, you know, everything, you know, self-sustaining, like, hurry, plant seeds, hurry, we need a garden now.
Or like, no, the government will take care of us. They always do. You know, there's tons of questions you have to try to figure out, and all of them have their pros and cons.
And all of them need to be figured out like in the first 15 seconds.
Yeah, and like
all
in this
these big
too.
giant questions, and you've got no time to figure out all of them.
Yeah, and you've got, you know, if you live in a town of 1,000 people, you've got, you know, 994 other people trying to figure out the same thing.
Yeah.
What's cool in the first season is they were coming up on an election, like the town mayor type thing. Uh-huh. So instead of being like, well, no, this is a catastrophe, we got to, you know, no election, we'll rely on the mayor to help us out. They end up having the election, and the mayor loses. So the person running against the mayor becomes mayor. So it's kind of like the whole thing of like, even in chaos, democracy still works, right?
Right.
That's what they're trying to prove, because in this whole situation, you're like, well, even though we're isolated from everything, we still want to show that we're, you know, part of the United States, part of this democracy, part of like this thing that works, right? And so then you have people questioning that and like, well, is that what we are? Or like, again, should I leave this town? It's that's not an easy show to make at all, but it would definitely be an interesting challenge to kind of put yourself in that. And to me, the big thing I'd want to capture, besides kind of the pro hope, hopefully, would be the fear and isolation and unknown. Because we are in a state where we rely on a lot of things. We're not a self-sufficient people right now.
No, we are not. I buy things at a grocery store. I
turn on a faucet. There's water.
Yeah. Turn off. I flush the toilet.
Yep.
And
in this situation, you're like, hey, why is there no water?
I am 100% a domesticated house cat, Sean.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about our grandparents from the 30s and stuff. Like, they'd be like, if this happened, they probably wouldn't know about it for like 6 months.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that was my first one. It'd be an interesting challenge. The other one, which I think would be kind of fun to spawn off a universe. It's really like when I think of TV shows, like when I watched it, I'm like, oh wait, like there aren't just sitcoms. Like there's these type of shows. Got me more invested in like actually watching TV. This was back in like 2001, 2002, probably. No, okay. I'm sorry. It would have been 2004 or 5. It's the TV show Heroes.
Yeah, I feel. Yeah. Okay. Does Heroes need? Yeah, I feel like Heroes does need a movie. At the very least, I feel like Heroes needs a movie to kind of like get some closure when it comes to storylines.
Yeah, well,
because
like
things kind of went all over the place, and then that was, I think that was a show that definitely that was like, I would say, the biggest victim of the writer's strike. I think the writer's strike killed that show
because season 1 was really good. Like it ends well.
Season 1 was very good. Yep.
You're like, wait, is he dead? Is he alive? One of my he's a Spock now. I can't remember what his name is, the actor.
Zachary Quinto.
Yeah.
He actually does the voice for one of the characters in this in that cartoon Invincible.
Oh, nice. I absolutely love him as an actor. Like,
yeah.
I feel like everything he's just amazing. And that was like one of his first big gigs, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Season 2, there was like this whole virus thing.
Uh-huh.
And I think you were the one that told me it ends where they stop it because the writer strikes happens. They basically have to do a half season.
Right.
But the original idea was that the virus was going to get out and kill all these superheroes.
Yeah.
Because then they went to like this like fugitive type thing where Skylar was good, but then he became bad. Then everybody had a superpower.
Yeah, because then it started going into like you had like alternate timelines and like it went all over the place, and then the show just kind of like crumbled under the weight of itself. It was a very cool looking house of cards, but that third season just kind of like took its legs out from under it, I feel.
Because they were going to have Heroes Origins, like Kevin Smith was going to do some of that.
Yeah.
And then like a few years back, they actually did bring it back for a season, but I think you said it was just not good either.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like I think the thing that I liked about the first season is because like it was a very self-contained thing. Like there was, like you got to the end of season 1 and you felt like you watched like a long movie.
Oh yeah.
And that was great, and I feel like season 2, they kind of had an idea where they were going, but they didn't have a chance to pan out. Mm-hmm. And then eventually kind of resolve. It just, I feel like the transition from season 2 post writer strike and then into season 3, it just like a lot of stuff just kind of got like dropped.
Yeah.
Like it was trying to carry too much, and then these like storylines and character arcs fell out, and so everything just felt very disjointed and incomplete.
Well, it fell prey to like in that third or fourth season, like you'd see was it Hiro? Hiro, the time travel guy?
Yeah.
You'd see him in an episode, and then you wouldn't see him for like 3 weeks. And then he'd show back up, and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot he was doing something.
That was the other thing is like it kind of like you want to introduce all these cool characters so that way you can show all these different powers. And that's great, but you can't have a show with, 20 main characters.
Yeah, no joke, right? But like,
I don't care what Game of Thrones says.
I mean, to me, the thing you see with this too is like it's heroes, so it's about different heroes with superpowers. You could take all the awesome Marvel, DC ideas and tweak them to be your own thing. Like you could, like, to me, if I'm making this movie because everybody's older and everything, I would make like a Flashpoint-esque type movie, right? Like, so they're all in the future.
Yeah,
heroes trying to go back because he went back the first time to say, "Hey, save the cheerleader, save the world." But what happened, like maybe you go back to that season 2 where that virus didn't go out. And maybe the virus needs to go out. Or something with that needs to change. Or maybe the cheerleader needs to die. just something along those lines where you play where you got to go back in time and fix what basically this show in the middle 2000s messed up.
Right.
And that could spawn different ideas, because then you basically can spawn a whole new hero generation.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you want to use this to reboot the show and basically like have a whole new, reboot the show with a different cast?
It would be cool if you could keep like Hayden Panettiere, the cheerleader.
Okay. Yeah.
The guy who played the dude that had all the powers, Skylar, Hero, maybe a couple other ones. They're all probably too big now.
What about the cheerleader's dad?
Oh yeah, he'd be good in it too. I think you could have to bring him back.
I liked him.
He was a really good character.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy, he's on This Is Us now. I've only watched the first season of that, but he was the dude that had all the other powers. Like,
yeah,
I think you basically take those main characters and set them like maybe 10 or 15 years from now. And so all the stuff they are doing is trying to get to like current time. So 2021, they're trying to fix what they messed up to get 2021 back on the right path.
So you kind of want a Days of Future Past it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you get 2021 fixed, and that's where you have all these new characters.
Okay.
That they'd have the same powers, obviously, but I mean, I just feel like all the material you need has already been written. You just have to tweak it a little bit to make it your own.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like it's, there's a lot. I feel like the stories there, I feel like it just kind of got like muddied and it kind of got watered down and muddied in the water. And so it just needs, you just need to be able to kind of like get your fingers in and kind of sort through the rat's nest and pull out and like straighten out your threads.
Yeah.
And I think it could work.
Season 4, I think they tried to do like a Civil War type idea, but it just, like you said, got so convoluted, and they tried to stretch it out over 20 some episodes. Like, I feel like it'd be a good movie. Those got a lot of the people in there. I don't know if Hayden Panettiere's acting anymore. I think she's kind of done.
See, but now if you do it, it's just going to be like, well, you're just copying Marvel.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, isn't Marvel copying DC and DC copying Marvel?
Yeah.
So why not throw our hat? See, this is IP that they could give us.
That's true.
They're not going to give us Marvel DC. They might give us Heroes.
Look, we both know you're not using it, so let's just let us try.
But that'd be a fun one where you can kind of take those characters, because they all had really good personalities, and I think you could build something kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's one that could lead into a TV series pretty easily, like a Peacock TV show, if they want to drop like, $250,000 an episode.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's one that, again, that's always tickled my fancy is Heroes, and I'd be a fun TV to a movie type of thing. So
I like it. I like all of them.
Yeah,
actually, I like all your ideas. And like I said, I'm not somebody that watched Dexter. I'd watch that movie. I was somebody that was very critical of Heroes. I'd watch that movie.
Yeah, they always say, like, whenever you look up like writing scripts, they always say don't take an IP that already exists. But to me, like, that would be it's fan fiction at that point. But to me, it'd be fun to take like a Turtles idea or, Heroes, Dexter, or anything we talked about, and try to make your own thing out of it, just because it's not there. So like, it doesn't exist. So if I write it, then it exists in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, my original IP isn't getting picked up, so somebody else's won't either.
At the end of the day, what are we doing? We're saying like, "Fuck you guys! I could take this and do something better."
Yeah, which I always go back to. That's how Creed was created.
Yeah, that's true.
But as we're tidying up this great LOB movie pitch, they are coming around. They're saying, "Hey, you guys can't drink your coffee here, but you can drink it somewhere else." Richard, what do you have for some Richard's closing thoughts?
I feel like I just said it. My closing thoughts are, just because something is gone doesn't mean that it's gone. Like, and just because something, just because a show ended in, ended in some cases with a whimper, in some cases burning down in flames, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that the story's over.
Can't stop the signal, Rich.
Yeah, I like that. There it is. That's a closing thought.
All right. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbroance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbroance.com. We absolutely love getting those emails. So if you have some movie pitch ideas or just want to say hey or hi, or, I think we've got some bumper stickers and stuff still. So if you'd like some of those, send us an email. We'd love to send them your way. And then if you'd like to take a little bit bigger step, you're like, you know what? I've got all the stuff I need, but I want more. You can join our Patreon account like Wendy and Aaron.
Yeah, we will. I will need 2 ideas from each of you, and I will need them on my desk by Monday morning.
Yep, we'll need the 15-page script,
Yes.
prep script. Send that our way.
Yep.
And then don't put your name on it, though.
No, because that's blank for reasons.
Yeah, our lawyer John said that's unnecessary. So
Yeah, don't even need to.
we have him on retainer still. All right, was there anything else for our closer out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right, well, that's all the Bromance have for the show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Be a why not. Oh, I need to go right.
Fire up the coffee pot. I'm talking to you, Starbucks.